monetary policy transmission. Yesterday we had discussed about Reserve Bank of India and its all the functions given in the RBI Act 1934. Today we will discuss about monetary policy transmission, important topic for both preliminary as well as mains examination, because after the establishment of monetary policy committee, we have to see that what are the repercussions of monetary policy transmission. You must have heard about MCLR, marginal cost of fund based lending rate. That is on the basis of banks are forwarding their loans to the customers, that is prime customers. So what is the meaning of monetary policy transmission? So first of all, this is repo rate. Suppose for example, if RBI increases the repo rate, what will happen to the next year? It means banks will follow the same path. Getting my point? Just listen carefully, I'll make it right. Banks will also follow the same path. After that, what will happen? The loans and advances will become costly. Is it clear? Simple sense. If RBI increases the repo rate, suppose for example 6.25 to 6.5. Suppose the house loan or the rate of the house loan is 8.5. So banks will also raise this to 8.75. So ultimately the cost of borrowing will go up. It means loans become dearer. This is the scenario. Or the opposite side, if RBI reduces the repo rate, what banks will do now? They will decrease the repo rate, and again loans become cheaper, so investment will flow in. But what is happening? The problem is here. If talking about banking sector, if RBI is increasing the repo rate, banks are quickly to follow that increase. But what happened on the other hand? If RBI reduces the repo rate, banks are reluctant in reducing the home loans, house loans, or whatever, vehicle loans. These are the things. So for example, from 6.5% to 6.25%, but banks here are reluctant to reduce. Sometimes they reduce only 5 basis points. So actually this is the process called monetary policy transmission. Started from RBI and with the cost of borrowing. But what is the current situation? Our banks are quick to jump on the hike in the repo rate, but they are reluctant in reducing the loan rate or the rate of whatever they are offering as loans. So cost of borrowing more or less remain constant. So if RBI is making some kind of policy, what is the name of this policy? Expansionary or contractionary? Expansionary. It means in the economy there is a slowdown, there is a situation of recession. That is why RBI is reducing the repo rate. When RBI is reducing the repo rate, RBI is thinking that banks will follow and that monetary policy will transmit towards the end consumer. And whatever the thought behind the mind of MPC or RBI, then they will say that the cost of borrowing is not actually reducing in the economy. This is the scenario for, maybe we can say, for the last 10 to 15 years. So that is why RBI made certain kind of formulas. So we'll discuss those formulas, that how monetary policy transmission can work. So write this, draw this. First you draw this, then I'll make you write. From Monday onwards, you have a class of modern Indian history by Rashid sir. Done? So we'll write few lines. You write monetary policy transmission under contractionary monetary policy. Monetary policy transmission under contractionary monetary policy. So you write in a situation where RBI increases the repo rate, in a situation where RBI increases the repo rate, in a situation where RBI increases the repo rate, RBI increases the repo rate, banks are very quick to follow this increase. Banks are quick to follow this increase in the repo rate. Banks are quick to follow this increase in the repo rate. And ultimately the cost of borrowing reflected on the interest rate, full stop. Continue with the same line. By adopting this monetary policy transmission, RBI is able to control the inflationary tendencies in the economy. This is known as perfect transmission. Getting my point? Next, monetary policy transmission. Next point, monetary policy transmission under expansionary monetary policy. Monetary policy transmission under expansionary monetary policy. under expansionary monetary policy. When RBI reduces the repo rate, when RBI reduces the repo rate, at the time of economic slowdown, at the time of economic slowdown or recessionary tendency, at the time of economic slowdown or recessionary tendencies, right, recessionary tendencies, banks are reluctant to follow the same reduction in the interest rate on loans. Full stop. The cost of borrowing more or less remain stagnant, or if there is any reduction, then it is delayed reduction. First off, so the purpose of reducing interest rates, to revive the economy, has been under pressure. Full stop. Now just understand. Suppose here repo rate, RBI increases the repo rate. What happened? Banks are quick to follow it. On the loan interest rate, talking about saving deposit interest rate, that has stagnated for last 5 to 6 years. People are getting only 4% interest rate on saving deposits. Have you ever heard about another kind of figure on saving deposit? Talking about public sector banks, because we are taking one bank at a time. If you are talking about Yes Bank or other banks, private banks, they are offering 7%, 8%. Why? Because their minimum requirement balance in saving account is 10,000. In some banks 20,000, 15,000. But talking about public sector banks, 1,000 and 2,500. So they are giving 4% interest rate on saving deposit. So actually, by keeping this in mind, if banks are increasing the loan rate, they should increase saving rate as well. Here the condition is different. They are not increasing the saving rate. But what happened? If RBI reduces the rate, they are reluctant in reducing the loan rate, but they are quick in reducing the saving deposit rate, because SBI still offering 3.5% on saving deposit. Getting my point? And you must have read in the newspaper that for the last 2 bi-monthly policy, RBI has increased the repo rate in total by 50 basis points. So it should return to 4% after the event of demonetization. But what happened? Here they are not following. So what they are doing, banks are increasing their margin by giving less interest on saving deposit and by charging high interest on loans and advances. So you write next line, last line, different line. In order to counter this problem, RBI initiated few formulas to calculate lending rates. Any doubt in this point? So we'll discuss what are those. Any doubt in this chart? These are formulas that RBI started at the event of 21st century. So benchmark prime lending rate, you write the formula. First we'll discuss this, so write the heading BPLR. Benchmark prime lending rate. Now what is prime lending rate? Benchmark, you understand, there is certain kind of level. But what is prime lending rate? What is the word meaning prime? There are two types of customer, prime customer and subprime customer. You remember the word subprime? Have you ever heard about this word? Subprime crisis 2008. Subprime means, first we'll understand prime. Prime customers are those customers, they are paying their interest as well as principal on time. Trustworthy customers, their credit worthiness is high. So whenever you are paying your interest rate, your credit history is good. It means you are taking loan and repaying that loan plus interest rate on time with full amount of that principal plus interest. But subprime customers are risky customers. Obviously the word sub means the same thing. Subprime customer. So subprime customers are those customers, I'll make you write, which is, we can say, there is some risk involved in giving loans to these kind of customers. Can you give me any example of prime and subprime customers from daily life? Generally government servants, those who are engaged in government service, considered as a prime customers. Subprime customers may be depending on the businessman, etc. Small businesses, agriculture loans, these all are come under subprime customer. But depend on the person to person. So what do you think? If I am a bank, I will charge more interest rate from subprime or prime customer? I will charge subprime. So if I am charging 7% interest rate to prime customer, I'll charge maybe 9%, 8% depending on the credit history, credit worthiness of that particular individual. So now you understand the difference between prime and subprime customer. So the crisis is related to subprime customer in 2008. So now benchmark prime, you understand now prime. Lending rate, you understand, lending means loan. And what are the rates? Simply, these are the rates, 7% and 9%. Suppose we'll take the same example, 7% interest rate. If a bank is offering a loan of how much amount of money, it depends, but they are offering at 7% interest rate. After offering 7% interest rate, apart from bank employees, banks cannot give or cannot forward loan just below this level of interest rate. It means you cannot, or a bank cannot give a loan below the rate of 7% interest rate. So talking about prime customer, there is some benchmark. So in our example, benchmark is 7%, and a bank cannot forward any loan below this interest rate. You can charge higher interest rate depending on the risk. Obviously, the interest rate on house loan is different from educational loan. Banks are offering 15%. People are taking 15% of educational loan. But talking about house loan, around 8.5%. Getting my point? So they can charge higher, but the lower limit is set, 7%. So according to this formula, how can you calculate this 7%? Suppose repo rate is 6%. If a bank needs money, finally they will approach to RBI. If they will approach to RBI, they will get funds at 6% interest rate, and they are forwarding the same fund at 7% interest rate. They are earning 1% in between. But how will you calculate? Because you have to cover your cost as well as other expenses. So according to this formula, cost of deposit, administrative cost and operating cost. In some books you will find administrative expenses and operating expenses, more or less the same thing. So by keeping these three important points in mind, you can calculate your benchmark rate, lower rate. First one is cost of deposit. Can you give me any example of cost that banks are incurring in accepting deposit? Safety, obviously computer expenses, electricity, these will come in the, but cost of deposit means maintaining the account. You must have read in the newspaper that Jan Dhan Yojana account which are having zero balance, incurring cost of rupees 100 per account. So these are cost of deposits. Cost of deposit, another term is when we are saying that you're going to a counter, there's one person sitting, the salary of that person will also come under this cost of deposit, because you're depositing, you're maintaining certain kind of accounts, ledger. Previously when we were not switched to computer system, we are maintaining registers. So that cost also. Getting my point? Cost of maintaining account on the server. Clear? Next one is administrative cost. Obviously administrative cost you can understand by the banks. Administrative cost, like any example? Manpower. Operating cost, like suppose you are clearing check. So that check you have to transport to some head branch. Then they will do some scanning, etc. Then they will clear. So these are operating expenses. By clearing checks, by settling account balances. Getting my point? By offering loans, it requires some kind of cost. By keeping in mind these three kind of cost, you can arrive at a certain rate, benchmark prime lending rate. Getting my point? But in 2010, RBI replaces this. RBI replaced this BPLR with base rate, a new concept. Base rate includes four things. 1, 2, 3 and 4. First three are the same. Difference here is fourth one, reserves. So it means first one is cost of deposit plus administrative cost plus operating cost. And now you have fourth important point is your statutory reserves. What are statutory reserves? What are required reserves? CRR and SLR. So by maintaining CRR and SLR, there is an opportunity cost because you cannot use this money by offering loans and advances. Getting my point? Because this amount is logged. Yesterday we had discussed extensively. So the fourth thing is reserve requirements. What we can say, statutory reserves. Getting my point? So we have included one more thing. But what happened? After including this, banks are still not following the same path. So we have invented another MCLR, another formula. In 2016, to be more precise, in April 2016. So we have in this 6 things. 4 remains the same. 5th and 6th is changes in the repo rate. So now you can write important point. This is important point. Because this is the main purpose. If RBI is changing the repo rate, it must have its transmission by the end consumer, or it should reflect on the final interest rate. So repo changes and cost of saving account. Because after Jan Dhan Yojana, there was a surge in saving account. So we have to include that also by calculating what? MCLR. So right now, what RBI is following? MCLR. Now we'll write one by one. Any doubt? Any doubt in this point? Okay. Reserves, CRR and SLR. So because this amount is logged, you cannot use this amount. And on CRR, RBI is not giving any interest rate. So actually you are losing out that money by inflation. Every year 4 or 5% amount of CRR you are losing out. So you cannot use this amount. This amount is logged. So there is some cost by maintaining CRR and SLR. Cost in the sense you cannot use that money. Like suppose for example you are taking a rental house, rental property. You have to give 2 or 3 months of advance deposit of the rent. Getting my point? Suppose the rent of a house is 10,000 rupees. So landlord is asking about, you should give 2 month advance. It means 10,000 plus 10,000, 20,000 and the first month rent. So 30,000. So that 20,000, the advance of 2 month loan, you will never get in your hand. Because whenever you are leaving that rented property, in the last 2 months you will not pay any rent. So that rent has to be adjusted in the last 2 months. But here this is not the case. You have to keep maintaining CRR. If you are maintaining CRR, it means you cannot use that money in giving loans and advances. Getting my point? No. Because if suppose 4% CRR has been increased to 5%, how will you maintain that 1 extra percent? You will cut down these costs. You will mobilize fund towards CRR because this is a statutory requirement. It means requirement by law. You cannot violate. And you know the penalty of violation. Bank rate plus 5%, bank rate plus 3%. That is checked by RBI every fortnight. Getting my point? So CRR and SLR, you cannot use these 2 things. Any doubt? So we'll write, first one is BPLR, benchmark prime lending rate. Benchmark prime lending rate. It is a rate. It is a rate that a bank cannot lend. It is a minimum rate, you write, sorry. It is a minimum rate below which banks cannot lend even to its prime customers, even to its prime customers. Cannot lend even to its prime customer. Do you want to write that definition of prime and subprime? Get the idea? Okay. So you write BPLR includes three types of cost. BPLR includes three types of cost. Number one, cost of accepting deposits. Cost of accepting deposits. Second one, administrative cost or expenses. Administrative cost or expenses. Third one, operating costs or expenses. Operating cost or expenses. Next line. BPLR before 2010 prescribed a certain kind of methodology. Prescribed a certain kind of methodology. Prescribed a certain kind of methodology in order to arrive at. Prescribed a certain kind of methodology in order to arrive at a minimum interest rate, to effectively implement monetary policy. To effectively implement monetary policy. Write the next one, that is base rate. Due to certain limitations in BPLR, RBI replaced BPLR with base rate. In 2010. RBI replaced base rate with BPLR in 2008. Just to incorporate a more comprehensive methodology. To make an effective monetary policy transmission. Now you write base rate includes four important costs. So you can write first three are the same as BPLR. Fourth one you write. Base rate includes the cost of maintaining statutory reserves. In bracket you will write CRR and SLR? Because banks cannot use this amount, because banks cannot use this amount in giving loans and advances, in giving loans and advances, in giving loans and advances. Next point, MCLR. Marginal cost of fund-based lending rate. Marginal cost of fund-based lending rate. Marginal cost of fund-based lending rate. So right, in the year 2016, RBI replaced base rate. RBI replaced base rate with MCLR. RBI replaced the base rate with MCLR because the formula of base rate, became obsolete with the change in the structure of monetary policy transmission. Full stop. This new concept, full stop. Am I going too fast? This new concept is based on marginal cost. This new concept is based on marginal cost. So in bracket you will write extra cost incurred on giving one more loan. Extra cost incurred on giving one more loan. I'll explain this concept of marginal cost. This concept is based on marginal cost. Full stop. By far, this is the most comprehensive. By far, this is the most comprehensive methodology to make. By far, this is the most comprehensive methodology to make an effective monetary policy transmission. To make an effective monetary policy transmission. Is it clear? Full stop. Any doubt? No? That's it? Shall we wind up this topic? Marginal cost. Marginal cost means incurring extra cost. Like for example, you understand marginal utility? Understand marginal utility? First I will explain utility. Utility means, just listen carefully, utility means want satisfying power of a commodity. Suppose you are eating chapatis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The intensity is different. If we compare first with second, with third, fourth. So obviously, when you eat first chapati, it takes less time. And you will say that the food is tasty. But whenever you are consuming more and more, your utility will go down. It means want satisfying power of that commodity will go down. So that is marginal utility, means by consuming extra commodity, extra food item, your utility is going down. This is a concept from microeconomics. But talking about marginal cost, it means the cost incurring on extra student. Suppose for example here, we have this much of students Is there any cost if I will incorporate one more student here in this class? No. Because we have enough space to incorporate that particular student. So the marginal cost of that extra student is 0. Getting my point? Electricity bill will be the same. My energy will be the same. I have to write all these things same. So there is no marginal cost of incorporating extra student. Suppose this classroom is full. Then if I am incorporating one extra student, then there will be some kind of cost, like cost of extra chair, cost of extra space. We have to sacrifice this passage. Getting my point? So this is marginal cost, means extra cost incurred in consuming or in having one extra particular good. Are we clear?